Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about strawberries, strawberry seed planting. Here's my 2 vertical planters here, and these are the plants that I have grown from actually seeds. I don't have very good luck when it comes to buying the crowns and they're being shipped in and the roots are dried. No matter how much I try to water them, I just do not have any success. I don't have success when I buy plants. They last that season and then that's it, they fizzle out. And so today I'm going to be planting some more seeds because as you can see in these vertical planters here, that there's some empty slots. Well, the good thing about strawberries is that they put off runners. And so what happens is a runner will come down and it grows a little, what they call a little crown, which is the root. The good thing about doing it this way, besides getting them shipped in through the mail, is that these roots are not, they're not dried out. And most of the time it'll keep on growing. It reaches down here and it actually sets itself. Sometimes I'll just take my finger and push it lightly down in there. But most of the time, when it's ready to take a hold of the ground, it roots itself. So let's take a look at these strawberries. Hopefully you can see them. The sun is at a different angle this afternoon. But I'm fixing to go over there and plant some strawberries because this is the way that I have success. Also, another tip that I have is that when I'm planting my little small plants, and these plants actually here are a year old. They're a year old. The first strawberries that came out were really small. My granddaughter come out here and she picked them up. This is her little garden right here. I told her it was her little garden. And it got blooms all on them. So these plants here are a year old. And I'm going to be planting some more, so it probably might take another year if I can really get some good strawberries off of them. But nevertheless, my tip is this. I put perlite in when I plant my little strawberry plants. I put perlite around it to help keep it moist. I like these vertical planters here because you can take a bucket of water and fill this container top portion up here up, and it just drips down. But I also like to take my water hose with a sprayer nozzle on it with a shower, it turned to shower, and spray all over. And the plants love water touching them anyhow. And just spray all over and make sure that they're getting, water all the way around those roots. So let's go over here to the table. I've already started getting the trays ready. The trays that I use to grow these strawberry plants, I'm going to be using the same tray. So let's go take a look. So I've already put my Jiffy seed starting mix in, and I have watered it down 3 times already, and you can still see the water setting into it. It takes a while for this stuff to really absorb and not just wash out. So you really want to get this really moist, and I like to spray it and wait till the next day. Spray it real good a couple times and wait till the next day and wet it again and let it sink down to make sure this seeding mix is really moist so my seeds will germinate. Another tip is that some of this, and I forgot to do it, I went ahead and put some water into the bag so that it can be soaking up, because it takes a while. You're ready to get your seeds planted, but you got to wait on this stuff to get just right so that your seeds won't be dry. It'll be moist so they'll germinate. Now these are Homestead trays here. It actually came with a little, it's like a grow planter. You can grow microgreens, and so I use these trays and these cells right here. And then what I do is that I put these in these trays because it's going to hold some water, and I want it to hold some water when I'm doing this, when like today it's probably 74-75 degrees out here already, and I want them to go ahead and germinate. And that's just the way I did it, and that's the way it works, and that's the way I'm going to continue doing it. So let's go ahead and fill this tray up. So you're just going to take your Jiffy mix. This is already moist some, and you're just going to fill your trays. I usually like to put your cells. You fill your cells. I usually like to take the Homestead tray and set up underneath it when I'm doing this, so that all this mixture will fall into it, and I can just put it right back into the bag. But right now I'm just trying to show you that this is how simple it is. The hardest part is getting this mixture wet. Even though I put water in this, a good amount of water, it's still not saturated like it needs to be. And I'm really surprised, but I'm not surprised. But nevertheless, that's why I like to sit there and wet these things let it sit for a while. Make sure that it's, you know, moist. It's just easier if you do it that way, because, you know, when you're doing this, you're ready to plant your seeds, and you got to wait on this stuff. So the easiest way is just do it the day before, or do it, you know, do it the next day and plant your seeds the next day, and make sure this is really wet. My point is this, is that when you're wetting this, I like to do it gently, because if you don't, it's not going to just soak it up like sand. I like to do it gently, because you see the water's just sitting right there on top. So if you do it any harder than that, what's going to happen is it's just going to run right out of your trays. And you have to continue doing this until, usually you could tell, because the water will stop sitting on top. It'll start just draining through. This stuff is kind of like, it's not like sand. The water will just sit there, and you just have to keep wetting it. And once you see that it's not holding the water on top, pretty much that's the key. But I also take, just like when you are making a cake, you take a toothpick and stick inside that cake to see if it's got moisture to it. The same way I take my knife, and I don't know what I did with it, but I take my knife, I stick it down in there, and if it comes out with dry stuff on it, I know this is not wet enough. So say for example, this is my knife or a toothpick, and you see that's not going to work because it's just too thin. But when I have my knife, whatever I did with it, here it is. When I take my knife and I stick it in there, I can look and tell. Most of the time, and then it's starting to get pretty good there, but I can tell just by looking at it. Most of the time, if I'm doing this right here, if it comes up with dry stuff, like that, I can tell with that right there, that needs more. Dry stuff, then you just don't, like that, it's just kind of popped up. Then you don't have it wet enough. It needs to be wet again. Like I said, it's like baking a cake. That came up dry. You can just do this number, and you can just tell, because what comes up on the knife. Most of the time, because this has been wet about 3 or 4 times now, most of the time it will come up dry. This one seems to be pretty good, maybe because I didn't pack it down. I like to put a little bit of pressure. Most people don't, but I do, because I know this is, because later as it keeps watering, this is going to shrink down. I want enough of this in this seed starting mix in these trays, so for my rooting system. So if it means me packing it down just a little bit, that's what I do. And I'm not doing it hard. I'm just doing it enough that, you know, if I want to add some more seed starting mix, then I know I need to go ahead and add some more. But this tray over here is still saturated. It's still sitting on top. Water's still sitting on top. So it's not, definitely, it's saying to me, it's not in the middle, it's not wet enough. It's just now starting to soak it up, because once this starts drawing, soaking up this water, it just starts running through. It just don't sit on top. So this is where your patience come in. If you want to do it all in one day, just know that, you know, just go do something else. That's what I do. I just go wet it and go do something else, and come back and wet it again and go do something else. Go back to what I was doing. Like a while ago, I filled these up. I went over there and watered strawberries, because I know with this heat going on right this moment, they're going to be craving some water. The greenhouse needs to be watered. And so this is just trying to get this wet. Now, the reason this one is not sitting in water like this is because this seed starting mix was drier. This right here, I had it in the bag, and I put water in the bag. I wetted it. So it was kind of partially already moist a little bit. And that is the fastest way to do it, is to go ahead and put some, like I just spray it into the bag. I just spray it in the bag. And it looks like you're really over wetting it, but when it starts soaking that stuff up, you find out you need more water in there. And then that way it just saves on the time. You don't have to sit around and wait like that one. This one's just about ready. It's draining down. That one's still sitting in water. And these are wanting to sit in water. But this one is telling me, because I've already wetted it in the bag, that it's draining right on through. So in other words, it is wetting the rest of that seed starting mix. So since that one is working, what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some seeds in it. See, so I can it's going right on through. These are starting to get there. Patience when it comes to this. But I really like putting water in the bag. Now, I like to use the strawberry seeds that are pellet. I get these at Walmart or Lowe's, any big box store. You find them at Walmart and Lowe's. And they sell really quick. And they're easy to sow. It's so easy. These are usually the only ones that I buy with that clay that's wrapped around the seed. And you got to realize it takes a little time for that clay to, deteriorate, to melt off of that little seed there. But since these seeds are so small, if you ever seen a seed on a strawberry, they're really tiny. So this is the way to go. And I always keep these trays up on it. Not only does it help me to hold, because these are a little bit more flimsier because they're smaller, but it just holds just enough water in there that I got some water in there, but it's giving me also security that I can lift these trays up and move them around. Because that's what you want to do. You want to, to begin with, when they start growing, you're not going to keep them. Most time you're not going to keep them. It depends on when you plant them, but most time you're not going to keep them in full sun all the time. You're going to move them in and out of the sun. I'm hoping to put these in the greenhouse, and I won't have to move them around like I was before. But I remember on my deck, I'm going to let that sit there a little bit because it still needs some more water in it because the water's sitting on top. But when the other place I lived at, I had them on the deck, and then I would move them part of the day into the shade. They were still getting the rays from the sun, but not being hit by the sun. So there's not many left in this one. Some of them, like some of the clays off of them, but I've had these for years. So the other ones I just picked up. And you're just going to sow it just like you do any other ones. I put about 3 or 4. That one's got 4 into it. That's got 4. And that's got 3. I'll just, because if they all come up, well, glory to God, But I always overplant because strawberries, they can get going. And if you don't keep them just wet right enough, and sometimes they just die out. They're just strawberries. But once they get going from seeds and you get them up, then you don't let them stay in these trays too long. You just go ahead and start upgrading them or putting them, like I did. I just went ahead and put them into my vertical planters and just kept them watered. And they just took off growing. That's what I found out to be the best. I can't grow from store-bought plants. Or buying crowns or even in the store. They're one thing, I believe they're just ruined because they've been sitting there for so long with no water. So that's got 3. Put a couple more in there because those look kind of chopped up. Sometimes I put 2, 3, 4. And so we'll put these back in there. Now I like to really, when I do this part, I like to use a dry mixture. Let me get this one over here. Because all I want to do is sprinkle this. And this is, see how I put a lot of water in this thing and it's still dry. It kind of soaked it up, but it feels a little moist, but it's still dry. So I wanted to sprinkle it just a little bit over that. Because these are not going to be planted very deep. You don't want them planted very deep. They're really tiny seeds. And I found out that if I try to put perlite on top of it to help with the moisture. I think and what you want your soil to be connected to the seed. You just don't want it to be sitting there. You want it connected to the seed. And I'm a little hesitant about, putting too much of this because they really are really tiny seeds. But that's why I end up putting more seeds in there. See one sticking up. More seeds in there because I want my strawberries to come up. And if they don't, I'll plant again. This one is still sitting in water. So now that perlite's going to get wet. That's going to see it's draining right on through. It's telling me that's perfect. These trays, the bottom of these trays, have holes into them. So, you know, it's going to drain through. It's not going to be holding the water. And that's why I use those, because it does give me support. And I always say, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And so this worked. Proof is in those vertical planters. That one's still sitting in water. So there you go. Start planting strawberry seeds from Easy Sow Seeds. Well, there you have it. That's how you plant strawberries. This is how you get strawberries to grow and be beautiful like these. First year, my experience, the plants are smaller, the fruit is smaller, but they live, and that's the key. And so these are definitely the second year plants. The leaves look beautiful onto it, so that's telling me they're getting a lot of, not a lot of moisture, they're getting the right amount of moisture, the right amount of, the leaves look green, they're getting the right amount of fertilizer. These over here, the leaves are telling me you could use just a little bit more fertilizer to it. So it's probably time to go ahead and get these fertilized again. So when I do it, I'll just do both of them at the same time. I love these vertical planters. We had the storm coming through, the freezing rain and stuff. I did move them on the inside because I had blooms on these strawberries. And it was very easy because it got rollers on the bottom. I rolled it in the greenhouse and rolled it back out. Well, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. No, I kind of got my head cut off, but it's because of the sun and the cameras. You know, it is what it is. But I hope that you learned something from this. If you have a problem trying to get strawberries to live, do it this way. Get the pellet seeds. Start them in your trays. And then get them up when they'll come up, and you don't really leave them in that trays very long because they just seem to just start taking off once you get them planted in a stable place. And just make sure to keep them watered, moist. You know, keep them. Strawberries are made of water, so they like the water. The thing about these vertical planters, the water, it saturates the soil, and then it runs through, and so it's really great. You can always tell when your strawberries need water because the leaves will start dying. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I just want to show you this quick video. Hopefully it's quick. How to plant strawberry seeds. If you, like me, have a problem with plants dying from the big box stores and, you know, getting the crowns and order them, they never make it, and you keep spending money. You buy the little bags that got the crowns in it at Walmart and all this, and it just never makes it. Save yourself some money. Spend about, I think those seeds are like $2.49. And it's probably got 50, at least 50, or I didn't look how many seeds, but probably 50 or 70 seeds into it. And you know, if you got to plant off every one of those seeds, you got 50 or 70 plants. If all of them don't come up, if you lose some of them, you're not losing out because you still got a lot more and a lot less of what you would pay for at Walmart. For sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. Hey guys, thank you so much. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, please share. And thank you all my subscribers. Thank you my new subscribers. I appreciate you so much. I mean, y'all just never know. It just, I don't know. It just makes my heart sing. When I see people subscribing, you know, and people clicking on, and you know, yeah, you know, I'm a homesteader, and when you're a homesteader, a real homesteader, back in the day, it was a way of life. That's how I was raised up. This is how I live. You know, they call them today homesteaders, but homesteading. But this is the way of life for me. But you know, this is my life, and I love to be able to share things and help people, and maybe give a tip, you know, and get them out of intimidation situation of growing. And pretty much it's just, you just got to do it. Just like doing filming here, you know, I have to do everything, and then do the filming, do the editing, and it's a lot. So a lot of times I don't get all my videos out, but it's just like anything, like even filming, you got to do it to get better. You just got to do it. Gardening, got to do it to get better. Greenhouse, got to do it to get better. Working on a car, got to do it to get better. Cleaning the house, got to do it to get better. So it's with everything. Practice. I always told my son when he was in baseball, practice makes perfect. You cannot get better unless you practice. And that's what I want to leave with you today. A tip I want to leave with you. Practice makes perfect. Practice, practice, practice till you get it down to the T. Then you can share it with others and say, hey, it works. And I can tell you it works, because I got living proof right here. Thanks, guys. See you on to the next video.